This could indicate that Flyers and Aquatics are closer than we thought to release in Path of Titans, and these are stuff that you can see on the Path of Titans public test branch in the game. This opens up and sets a precedent for the introduction of these creatures to the game and for the future of the game, and I'll be telling you about all of that today. But first, if you are new, feel free to subscribe to be kept in the loop for everything dinosaur game related, and of course Path of Titans as well. But let's just dive right into it. Firstly, I want to give some context on what is going on, because these are simple nodes with arrows, and these are visible in the creator mode. I'll show a video now of me going into creator mode and showing them, because when you're not in creator mode you can't see them. However, here's an example that is on the Panjura map. In fact, these are 4 semi-aquatics. Now, originally I was gonna make a video about these when I first found them and thought that these could have been AI spawners, but they're not. They are actually player spawners, and this is because I asked the devs on a stream that I was doing when they were in the chat, and they answered that it was in fact a player spawner for when babies come out of their tutorial cave, and it wants to spawn the semi-aquatics closer to the water source as possible, so then as soon as they spawn they are at least near water where they can fish and drink from and live in and call their own home. And so obviously it's very important to see these for semi-aquatics. However, it's also very important for Flyers and Aquatics in the game to get these as well. You can kind of see where I'm going here because, well, they technically do exist. Thanks to one of my community members, Stozzers, the recent updates for Gondwar, which are live on the PTB, the public test branch right now, include these spawn points. Now, I do want to say these Gondwar updates are insanely cool, and I recommend you check them out, but if you go into creator mode, you can fly around and probably find more of these nodes on the map. And what's even better is there's nodes for both Aquatics and Flyers as well. Not just juvenile Flyers, but also Flyers in general. So it indicates that there's ones for juveniles and ones for big Flyers as well. Here's a spawn point in Volcano Bay, which is specifically for Aquatics. As you can see, it's in the water and it's labeled Aquatic, notifying us that this is an area where an Aquatic will spawn from its baby cave or spawn in general once it's spawned into the game as a fresh Aquatic or after a server restart. And here is one for Flyers. This is in Flyers Bluff, so it is quite evident that this would obviously have existed in the area, and of course this is away from any predators, so it's a good area to spawn a juvenile, which this says Flyer Juvenile. Of course, this indicates that this spawn is for a juvenile flying creature. However, there's another one that just says Flyer, which could indicate this spawn point specifically is for any Flyers, and these ones here are specifically for juveniles, potentially a tutorial cave exit point, which would be a safe ground away from any land dinosaurs because they cannot get up there on Flyers Bluff. Now, Flyers Bluff is more interesting. Obviously, as I've said, it's an area that nothing else can get to. No land dinosaurs can get to it, only things that can fly, including admin mode. But I'm going to talk about that one in a second. Regardless, this is the spawn points for Flyers and Aquatics now, which indicates that these are most likely in some form of play testing, which would make sense. They're testing out spawn areas, adding spawn areas in. They'll need to spawn in places that actually work well for Flyers, and so it's a handy thing to have these in the game and ready for when you're play testing them in some form of QA testing. Or the developers are just pre-planning the areas where these Flyers are going to spawn and they're not in the game yet. However, I would not be surprised if they are in QA testing at all. Now, I've talked about Aquatics before on the channel, and I've spoke about Aquatic updates before on the channel. Here's a video that talks about the new Gondwar updates, and here's a video where I talked about Aquatics in general. So yeah, go check them out if you haven't already. That being said, as the updates progress, there's an even bigger emphasis on the fact that Aquatics must be in development or perhaps next in line for release to the game. Now, of course, we don't exactly have the quests in the areas yet, but the aquatic biomes have been been fully fleshed out, and now they are their own points of interest. They have their own names, and of course the next thing to be added there is quest. They even have the quest items in store ready in some of these areas, which is good. So far there are no quests in the water areas, however it's looking like the building blocks are there to be adding them. You've got points of interest now, which obviously adds to the fact that when you enter a point of interest you'll get quests, and then you obviously now have the quest items with starfish and stuff like that, which indicates there will be some form of quests in the game and for the aquatic creatures to be able to grow on and thrive on. Of course, I still think there's a lot to go here, a lot more to go for these aquatic quests before they fully release into the game. And obviously, there's still a lot to go. You need more quests, not just collection quests, to make these a bit more funner and a bit more unique, because we know that on official servers there won't be any passive growth, so you'll need to quest to get those aquatic growths up. Of course, there's the new movement systems as well, with strafing, looking around to do your movements as well. To turn around, you just move your mouse. You can also turn side to side, you can back walk, and your precise movements are a lot more interesting now, which indicates they are thinking about the aquatics in general. Now, flyers. There's a lot of things that could indicate flyers are coming. Firstly, a lot of people have pointed out when I was streaming and tried to tell me this, but they're flying controls in the control settings for the game, where it tells you how to fly. Essentially, you press one button to go up, another to go down, kind of like diving in the water. However, this also includes the admin flying controls, because admins fly in spectator mode, and these conveniently are the same buttons that you press to go up and down as an admin in those systems. So it looks like you'll be flying around by both looking with your mouse, if it's similar to how Aquatics do it, and of course using the buttons that are listed here. You'll be able to rise and fall by just pressing these buttons, and also potentially looking up and down with your mouse, unless you maybe press the precise movement button and then that locks your looking around, and then it's easier to fly like that. I guess this is going to be similar to the Isles flying system, which is kind of on that same premise. This could be a glimpse of how flyers work in the game, and it's very interesting that this is now in the control settings for the game, which indicates that these technically are potentially playable as the devs, or this is just for admin camera. The devs will never tell us this, but because they're both very similar, it makes it very interesting. That being said, there are now islands which only flyers can go to. A good example here is Flyers Bluff, but there's so many more that literally are specific to only flyers. Literally no dinosaur can get on top of these islands, and there's quest items on top of these islands as well, which indicates that something should be collecting the quest items in this area, and it's not a dinosaur. The only thing that can get up there is a flying reptile or a flying creature in the game, so it indicates that yes, there'll be quest items accessible to flyers and only flyers in these areas. The fact that they've built this up so well, adding caves and items of, for quests into these areas that only flyers can even go to, areas that technically, yes, you could go to in admin mode, but no one's going to be going there anytime soon to check it out in normal single player or multiplayer servers, unless they had a flyer, which to me could also indicate maybe they're testing on some QA forum, QA test or whatever. I don't even know what's going on over there, but maybe they could have these stuff here as a set stone, a base stone for when they're testing this stuff. That could literally be the case, or it's just to flesh it out and build a platform where they can then add it to the game in the future. So it's obviously an interesting point to talk about here, but yeah, that is that. What's even more interesting is that there is an aquatic spawner on Panjura in Great Lake. Now, it's interesting because Panjura's Great Lake is tiny, and technically Aquatics, the devs have said, Panjura is not really built for aquatics, so it's intriguing why is there an aquatic spawn on Panjura. Could indicate it's getting reworked to hold full aquatics, but yeah, it looks like you'll be able to actually spawn in as an aquatic on that map. That being said, there are some other things that are quite interesting, especially in the creator mode. If you go to the items, you can see fish bait, which is a red ball, and you can see fish spawner. So you can spawn in fish. It's currently broken, but there's a lot of different settings for that fish spawner, and it's quite interesting to point out, because then admins can place these down, and these could be actually physically placed on the map that you can move around as well. They are quite transparent, which to me indicates that they will be hard to see anyways, but if you do find them, you'll be able to move them around and tweak them so fish spawn in more, which is really cool. But at the moment it doesn't work, but maybe it'll work in the future, and I can't wait to see how it will work. Maybe you'll be able to select specific fish to spawn from it, or some other ways around it, who knows. And there we have it, everybody. That's what I wanted to talk about in today's video, completely going against what I said in Monday's video. Now, do I think flies are going to be coming sooner than 2024 now? Yeah, probably. I think they will be coming next year now, mainly because it looks like they're in progress or in some form of testing where you can get to that position and play them, but we won't find out about that anytime soon. Anyways, guys, I do want to apologize for the raspy voice, the bunged up voice. I know it's been a while since I've been like this, but yes, I'm very ill, and it's mainly I'm just feeling congested, a sore throat, and so it should go away soon. However, I didn't want that to stop making videos, or stop me making videos and content. I know some of you would have saw on Saturday's stream I had the same issue, but yeah. Anyways, I just thought I'd make you aware of that, in case you think this is what I'm like now, if you're new to the channel. So I do apologise for obviously the illness and the bunged up voice, and I've had to edit about 50 coughs out of this. Oh my god, it was dreadful. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you later. Peace.